All right, almost there.
Are we doing this live on Facebook?
Yep,
Oh, all right.
we're live and we are recording and we are transmitting in case there are intelligences that can solve this situation easier than us. I'm Halcyon here live with Leo.
Hello, everybody.
Leo, how many times have you gone to Black Rock City?
I've done 15 years of hard labor.
And over the years, we've had a lot of inspiring and beautiful check-ins about the state of the community and the state of the movement and how it affects us and other people. And we started a conversation earlier in the week about what is Burning Man, or what could it look like? What would be some, solutions to a digital Black Rock City? And then decided, well, let's hold off and record this conversation as a way to kind of flesh it out so that people can give their feedback and see if it resonates with you as much as it did to me, as Leo was talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the main inspiration idea was like, I was really riffing on the concept of the multiverse and how, the multiverse actually opens up the dimensions of not having to be present or being present in multiple times at multiple places at the same time, right? And then the main riff that we were going on is this idea of imagine a place that the map becomes sort of like your portal, right? The map of the city with the districts of the personalities of the neighborhoods as they currently exist. The big open playa, all the possibilities for the arts and the interactivity of that stuff, but being curated from the place of placement, right? So you will take placement to place, Pink Heart, Loveland, whatever camps that already exist, but then open submission at large for burners or people who want to participate to create things that they would have made or not done because of resources or because, I'm already in this camp, I don't want to start another camp. But the idea to give freedom to create a multiverse, like a stack experience of people being able to, showcase an art piece that maybe they didn't have the resources and the time, but like, I always wanted to build 100-foot tower or blah, blah, blah. And but I have a cool rendering and I had a cool pitch and the heart of this speech is beautiful, and the multiverse allows that to be at least a showcase, if not created, right? But it is being virtually created. You could experience at a distance, clearly, remotely, something beautiful that wouldn't have necessarily be made or approved or gotten through the whole, system, or there's just sometimes too much stuff, right? But right now it's like, okay, usually one temple wins the submission to the temple, but usually there's a bunch of them that get submitted. And I have seen plans for stuff that didn't make it to playa. There's like, I'm still like dream of art pieces that don't exist, right? So that was sort of like the base foundation of what this thing can be like, right? And John,
So let's say we'll return to how like I get an idea into the system. But let's say I'm entering the city and it exists as a digital map, like Burner Map is currently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so then
I drill down.
Yeah, you can click on, let's say choose a map filled with that. As a matter of fact, I sent you a map. Let's say the one with the green background, if you have it over there, just put it up on the screen so people can get a simple idea. This is very like rudimentary. I'm sure the technology can be fine-tuned. But so the idea is like you could have a map overlaid with the actual locations, right? And then the who, what, when guide as a digital version of it that you can then be like, today's Monday. I wonder, what's going on Monday? Oh, wow. Monday at noon, the Mad Hatter Tea Party is happening, the Muffin Bottoms, whatever. This is more like camp specific, but imagine if there were dots for all the various art pieces. And each one of those dots can be a series of links that placement allows you to put up to various content, be it a YouTube video explaining what you're doing, a live Zoom broadcast of the thing, or a Twitch broadcast, or SoundCloud of a set, or whatever media people feel like putting up, a presentation, right? Like imagine a piece of art that's like a 3D rendering that's moving around, that's a beautiful video. So the idea is like at various times, and this is another thing we spoke about, bringing the 10 principles forward. So you do have immediacy, right? So then this thing opens at Sunday at midnight and it closes at Sunday at midnight, right? whole week, and at the specific time, things go in and out, right? So if you are not there at 4 a.m. when so and so set is happening, then it just doesn't. You don't get to see it. Just like any person that goes to Burning Man, you don't get to see all the art. You don't get to see all the camps. You don't get to
Right.
see everything, right?
So there's this digital who, what, where via the map, and as you drill down into locations and times, then you have links that could lead to live Zoom rooms, someone live broadcasting as they're giving a tour of their backyard. It could be a recorded video of a 3D rendering of a sculpture. It could be a VR experience. It could be anything. But it's just a link of hyperlinks that are time dependent and organized by space and time in the virtual who, what, where.
I also think about all the content that usually on the who, what, when, you have workshops, you have performances, you have, or come learn how to do a thing, or come hear this expert talk about a thing that you're passionate about. Like some of it is not so much as spectator driven, but it's curated to get a unique experience that you wouldn't otherwise, right? Like so many things are very bias specific. And granted, if you don't have going to the hair washing camp may not be as much fun if you can't wash your hair, right? But going to see Rick Dublin speak at the MDN about the state of, psychedelics in 2020, that sounds fascinating, right? So this idea that you could have, again, this is a multiverse version of it. And even the idea of depository of art pieces that didn't, get showcased before, and you as an artist, or people as artists can choose, oh wow, this would be a great chance to submit that piece that maybe I never finished, or maybe I did finish, so in the multiverse that piece did get finished, and then we'll get to sort of experience it. And what a great showcase would be for Burning Man culture, Burning Man artists to become like sort of ambassadors, because now we're not limited to only 50 to 70,000 people being in this place, right? And that becomes a thorny subject, right? Where it's like, well, what if you could sell, tokens or whatever, tickets to these events, right? This is another thing we spoke about. Like, if you could do a ticket that's, sliding scale, $25 to $100, right? Pay what you can, but you can do 1 million people, right? So from the perspective of the org, or like, I know that money in terms of keeping this event alive is very important, right? And not necessarily in a profit sense, but in profit in a sense that it takes money to put this thing together, right? So you could make, I don't know, whatever the math would be, like $25 million. If 1 million people show up at $25, that's a pretty interesting, proposition for the org, or even for the participants themselves. The idea that I, as a participant, that I created camps just like yourself, and I put in 14 days of my life every year, plus the logistics, I still buy a ticket every year, right? So the idea that all the participants at $25, that's an interesting, proposition for me, or for anybody. Also, you don't have to be there 24/7 like you will apply. You still hopefully do other things with your time that week. But at any point during the week, like, oh, I wonder what's going on. And maybe there can be things that are more communal. Like you spoke about the idea of a virtual center camp.
Right. I mean, I think that there's a couple of things that one of the interesting things that you talk about, that you mentioned, is lowering the barrier, so that 1 million people could attend. And that's also something I think that scares people, because one of the magical things about it is that it is difficult. And by the time that you're a part of Burning Man, you have gone through an adversity and a struggle. But there's, on the other side of that, one of the opportunity to allow a huge number of people to experience Burning Man culture and to participate in some way or another is really exciting to me. It's part of the mission of the Burning Man organization. So it's exciting to get a bunch of people in, but then the challenge is, how do you make it a participatory experience for 1 million people? And Caveat, I think, was in his most recent article in the Burning Man Journal, had some really interesting ideas about, like, what does greeters look like in this new system? Is greeters maybe part of the job of greeters is to put barriers up to keep people out unless they do certain tasks, go run an errand and find a sign in their city, or potentially say, hey, we can't let you into the city until you decorate, the room around you in your that we can see in your webcam, or until you put on an outfit. And just, we don't want to say what you have to dress like. It just has to be something wacky. And I think that's a really an interesting idea of kind of putting barriers up. And I know we have radical inclusion, but when all it takes to attend is a click, changing radical inclusion to it could require a little bit more participation, I think it makes it really interesting.
And I think in that term that Imagine Choose-Track right now, the greeters are volunteers, right? And let's say most people wouldn't have taken an 8-hour shift for greeting because they want to go party, right? Well, right now, maybe part of that, like, hey, if you have a burner profile, maybe one of the qualifications is if you have a burner profile and you understand that you came to Burning Man, part of your ticket requirement is to do an hour greeting, because then you can do an hour greeting over a week, right? And if 1 million people came in an hour, you can greet a bunch of people and make it fun, make it creative. Not like, oh, I gotta greet, like I gotta do this, like, mandatory, kind of assignment, versus like, how cool would this be? Like, let's inspire that this is the point of it, right? We're
Right.
creating a multiverse. Next year, it goes back to 70,000 people. But you know what? The handicapped person, the elderly, the too young, the person who doesn't have the means, the person who lives too far away, the person that maybe went to Burning Man 15 years ago and they're done now. They have 3 children. They live in suburbs. So I'm like, you know what? That'd be kind of cool to get a taste of that and to share with their family or friends. This is the thing that I really love that changed my life. Right.
Yeah.
So then the idea of having 1 million people get a taste of that, on top of it, the things that I think will sort of rise to the top is, the art, the creativity of the place, the culture in terms of the music. And also this part that got me excited, the idea of creating and encouraging people to really be burning somebody and not just be like, yes, here's a link of us having a happy hour, but like, imagine like, the DJ set at 4 a.m. on the trash fans, right? Or like Daft Punk at the trash fans. And then the idea that like that adventure, you know how it is, you show up at 4 o'clock, there's no one there because the bus broke down, right? So then the live feed could be 2 people working on an engine, arguing with each other while techno blurs in the background, right? As a comedy bit. I mean, I just gave it away, but it could happen a lot, right? Or like breakdown Sundays, but people are like, mad at each other because they're like tired and spent of a weekend of building and breaking down stuff, and just kind of creating a porta party experience, whatever it is, right? This idea of bring the flavor back, right?
I think that's huge. It has to have a lot of space for improv and humor and spontaneity. Like if you show up, as a newcomer to check out Burning Man and you get to greeters, and they say you have to turn your webcam on. You're like, well, okay. And they go, oh, you know what? You gotta put some, of your
Flavor.
Your wife's makeup, on, make some warp stripes. Like, okay. And they go, oh, and just so you know, here's how you create an event. So if at any time, you want to, do a talk or a lecture or anything like that, this is how you put it onto the agenda. So there's like, I think one of the magical things about Burning Man is if you come as I'm here to check it out, in a day or two, you realize that I'm an artist too, and I can create. And if we could get that kind of vibe. The other thing I think would be interesting is, if we start planning now and Caveat mentioned this as well, is that theme camps could start having homework or something that people do. Like, hey, we're going to have like the Billion Bunny March. Here's a printout that you could do for a mask. Everybody wear this mask. Actually, Billion Bunny March is easy. You get your wings. But let's say it's, the Leo dance, and we print out a picture of your face and say, hey, to get into this party, you have to have this mask. Here's the link. You can go print it out, come back, and then we just have this, sea of Leos dancing, or whatever. In advance, acquire these materials, and we're not even going to tell you why. But if you show up to this event with a bag of flour, and a bunch of lube, and then we're going to have the surprise something.
I like it. You have me a lube. The thing that you said that as I'm mentioning it is, you're right, the randomness aspect of it, because sometimes you go to a talk and there's only one person there, right? And that's the one talk that changed your life, right? So it's not so much about massive, it's about like unique for you. There's something that's going to resonate with you. And that's the beauty why there's so much variety. There's meditating monks, and there's Kidsville, and there's like Party City, you know, and then like, you know, the Rainbow District, and then there's the Orgy Dome, and then there is like, you know, whatever, come make mojitos with us. So this idea that like there's something for everyone for 70,000 people, but imagine if there's something for everyone for 500,000 people, you know, whatever that number may be. And the other part that what you just said there that we spoke about briefly, hopefully by then, meaning September, social distancing can be a little relaxed, and you may be able to hang out with 20 people that you're in quarantine with, right? So you have this little pockets of community that 20 people can be doing something together. And that's when you kind of like, you know, Loveland goes to visit, you know, Pink Heart, and then Pink Heart, you know, does a drive-by for Zazen, or Zazen provides the music for the Pink Heart, you know, like this kind of idea where this little pockets of creativity, which is not just one person sitting on their webcam, it can be an actual thing that's happening. And like we did dance parties here on Zoom where we watched DJs that we really like who were also live, and they were like putting us up on a projector. So we literally would turn around, we're like, we're in there. It was this weird multiverse thing where we were literally, they were entertained by us. We dressed up and put like goofy stuff on, and we were entertained by them. And there were people dancing behind him, but we were dancing in the screen, with each other. It was actually like for half an hour, we forgot that we were in the middle of a pandemic and we hadn't seen anyone in 28 days.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
you know, and I think that, you know, over the last month, I think a lot of us have been practicing and training with digital tools. I've been mostly playing with Zoom, and I think some of the concerns is like, well, this isn't just going to be a bunch of networked Zoom rooms, although that doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world to me. But let's say, you know, as we're using these tools, we're starting to recognize best practices, and things like, you know, administration and moderation is going to be significant. You know, if we have an orgy dome and we have, you know, these kind of mischievous burner vibes, I could see people really enjoying messing with stuff. So we have to figure out like exactly either train moderation or have some sort of registration that makes it easy to kick people out, or waiting rooms.
Or maybe trimming the ends, right? Maybe the orgy dome is too extreme and it's too much of it. You have to be there. And it's funny because it's one orgy dome in the whole city, but people know that one because it's so like, you know, it catches your ear, right? So that may be more of an education place rather than a place for people to sit there masturbating in front of each other. It's like, well, that's, like, it can be fun, I guess, you know, but
well, let's try. Let's just see, you know, we've got a few people watching.
Yeah, you go first. You know, but the idea, like, you know, Kidsville was what, like story time hour, and we're creatures, and, you know, I mean, I'm going the spectrum, right? So in the spectrum, the things that are just going to sit better. I think this is the community aspect of, you know, again, the 10 principles. Maybe there's voices that have more clarity about this than I do, and I don't have to be the final voice of anything, basically. This whole thing is like, I think at that point where we will be nice to be like some kind of structure in terms of like, you know, the ticketing would be managed by the org, and the map and the timing, the putting stuff up and bringing stuff down. But other than that, I think it's like, you know, burner profile / the name of the thing, you know, the camp or the person who's doing. And that's another thing that we spoke about, the idea of how over the last couple of years, we've seen a little stagnation, or at least I have, because camps became established, right? Since 2012, you got direct sell tickets. So you didn't want to go start a new camp because you were getting your tickets, you know, whatever. And I think like before, camps were like 1 year they were there and they were never there again. And you saw another camp and it was the same crew. But this year they didn't want to do what they did last year. Last year they were the unicorn camp, and this year they're doing whales. And I feel like some of that could be brought back because of this. So imagine, even if Pink Heart still exists, they can be the John Halcyon, you know, whatever experience, which could be an addendum to it, or something completely separate that allows you and 5 of your friends in San Diego to do a thing that doesn't involve pink. I don't know what the opposite of pink would be, but it'd be funny to kind of like have another presence. And at 3 p.m., we get to see whoever's thing is as a way for placement to be like, oh, wow, there was all this creativity in the docs that in the multiverse we get to experience, and it can become almost like a casting ground for be like, you know what was very cool? These people who did that multiverse thing, you know, and they would have never been on our radar, but now they are. And then going into next year, hey, people that you participated for something amazing in the multiverse, you 4 people did something cool. Here is some infrastructure. Here is, you know, direct sales, whatever that may mean. Clearly, there's a container that has a limit, but I love the idea of being able to experience things that I know are there. I know personally people have ideas, but
Right.
they're like, we gotta go to camp because there's 65 of us. What are we gonna do, right?
Right.
So
As you're talking, a couple of other things pop in my head. One is it would be we definitely need like a what it's called, burning fire, shout fire, or like radio station, or maybe center camp, some sort of
BMR.
like marketing and advertising. Like, hey, right now at this time, these six things are happening right now. Make sure if you're interested in flour and lube, make sure you check out Pink Heart right now, whatever, and to kind of some like you could browse the map, but you could also kind of have an ear to the wind. It'd also be cool to have some sort of feedback, or like, so that participants could say, oh, make sure you check out this. That's something I think that is fun as well, is message boards or vote upping or something like that.
Well, we didn't speak about this, but I spoke with other friends about this. The idea of the neighborhood becomes important because the 2:00 has a flavor, the 9:00 has a flavor, right? 4:30 has a flavor. So then inside of these little pockets, there can be a 4:30 bulletin board, right? Just like we have the little plazas, right? So I think on the plazas, there can be the more of a dialogue, kind of like chat feature or whatever, in which case you can be like, hey, we're over, 4:30 NE doing something cool. And or there could be a curator for the 4:30 section and a curator for the 3, something like an MC or some sort, or or just like, because I think the whole thing is too big to do that. I like the idea of center camp. Imagine if the pathway is you have to do greeters, right? Like you have to go through that greeting idea, especially if you're a newbie, maybe there's a special whatever. You clearly you can't ring the bell and do the dust bunny, angel, whatever. But the idea that there should be a pathway, much like Caveat was saying, at kind of an initiation, and then maybe the first place you land in is at this banana bizarre emporium of center camp, right? And maybe that's the most chaotic place, and from there you start to here comes the map, and here's party, here's art, here's education, here's wonder, here's whimsy. There's the guy with the megaphone yelling insults at you. You just go there, he just yells at you, you just lag off for 2 seconds. That guy should be randomized. You never know when you're gonna get the guy with the megaphone yelling insults at you.
Well, I think that as a community, once we process the grief of not getting what we want, there is a lot of things to be excited about. Some of the idea of that, being able to invite people into our community that never could, and letting people who have maybe fallen into certain ruts as our city has become established, being forced to take their artistic expressions into new directions. And I think that we're just starting to think about what does immediacy and radical self-expression and communal effort mean in isolation. And as you mentioned, that could change as social distancing rules relax. We could have but clearly in some way there's going to be this a digital expression. It's going to involve some form of webcams, possibly Second Life features, possibly recorded things, and maybe there would be these aspects of some online gaming that people participate in. Who knows? But I personally am excited. I would be remiss to say that I am currently practicing a little bit of a Pink Heart vibe. Twice a day, I'm having group hugs and gratitudes at noon at 6 every day at zoom.hugnation.com. and come and share and have some connection with awesome, beautiful people. It's kind of like joining the pink couches and meeting people at Burning Man. Tomorrow, Sunday at noon, the Gratitude Circle is going to be followed by a daytime dance party with Carrie Boberry. So show up at noon, stay till 2, and bring your webcam and laptop outside, dress fun, bring your flow toys, and it'll be a practice ground for a little day party at the Burn tomorrow if you're up for it. You're invited, Leo.
Excellent. Well, Zendo Stereo is my music meditation practice. If you find me on social media, I have free sets you can do. It's basically you put headphones on, eye mask, and you go on a 1-hour musical journey, which basically takes you through like a meditative space. You get to relax, de-stress a little bit. It works when you're slightly enhanced too. wink, wink, nudge, nudge, everyone. So you can kind of have a very deeper, like, meditation by sort of combining sort of both relaxation and like altered states of consciousness in your mind. So I highly encourage you to check it out. Xander Stereo. There's the Instagram, the website, the Facebook. And John, I can't wait to give you a real dusty hug. I bring dust with me. It may not be dusty, but we'll make it happen.
Will you join me in an intentional hug and hold yourself?
There you go.
And as you grab yourself, imagine you're grabbing me, and I'm going to imagine I'm feeling you.
Awesome, brother.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you. See you soon.
Great seeing you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. We love you.